a bunch of bans were targeted towards Betty on that Kalista. He made up 40% of Kalista bans in the LMS last split.
Yeah, very good Kalista player, and not only that, unlocked ShiauC's champion pool to play aggressive down bottom. All of a sudden, if you're looking at Kalista Galio, then that is potent. And I love the pickaways immediately from Vega Squadron. Two of the most potent champions that we've seen from the Flash Wolves so far, taken away.
Yeah, get the Rek'Sai and the Galio in your hands. Take him away from ShiauC, take it away from Bugi as well. Still that Sylas first pick priority for Flash Wolves. It did work out for them last game, and here we see it teamed up with the Akali once again.
And what jungler did they go with? I was going to say one of the last remaining regions to play Zhao was played during the finals. Matches aggression very nicely if you are the Flash Wolves comp.
Yeah, Bugi has only lost one game on Zhao this split, so I'm very much looking forward to seeing how aggressive he can be. And you said you wanted a quicker game. You said Flash Wolves could make it a little bit speedier. Well, picks like Zhao, Akali, and Sylas are definitely the champs to do it with.
And interested to see whether he goes towards Hop. You know, just a little bit more of that early game flavor. Phase Rush, obviously, also an option there, but Hail of Blades just makes Zhao terrifying in the early game.
Took me a second to work out what Hob was. I thought maybe you were cooking something up for us, but yes, Hail of Blades Zhao, so powerful, works out incredibly well with your kit as well. HEcarim will be the final pick for Vega on the red side for this first phase, and they'll get rid of Betty's Ezreal, so you're actually taking away some of that safety for Flash Wolves in the bottom lane.
Yeah, introduce some volatility, and one of the stats I had for Flash Wolves coming into this is they very rarely take their solo lanes in the top 3. In the last 8 games that they had played in the LMS during that playoff series, they only took one solo laner in first 3 Medic. It was a Kennen in the 5th game versus AHaHaCiK. This time around, we've seen so much more priority placed on Rava as well as Hanabi to be able to take over their laning phase with strong picks.
They have picked 5 out of 6 possible top laners in that first rotation this tournament so far. Of course, still challenging for that spot in the main stage of MSI. We'll see if that tradition continues if they do take down Vega Squadron today. Ezreal ban, Zoe ban away by the Flash Wolves, Lucian as well, taken out by Vega.
Yeah, very low priority on Lucian throw so far in this series, so hitting the bench of some of the stronger AD carries. That leaves Varus and Ashe available, both big picks in the LMS for some control. Also, the fact that there is just still things like Sivir, that if you want safety, gives it to you in spades. You know, a little bit of that mind-numbing push priority that can be generated throughout every stage of the game. So certainly options still for Betty, who was a player of the game last time around.
I actually really like the Neeko ban here as well, because you can play Ezreal into Neeko, you know you can jump away. You can't really predict how Neeko plays into things like the Varus, like the Sivir. So if you're going for a more traditional AD carry, getting rid of the Neeko, taking Gadget off his comfort is very impactful.
I also think that this is very interesting, however, from the Vega Squadron lineup, because we've seen that in the toe-to-toe, the back and forth, they are suffering a little bit in individual mechanics. They had such a big lead in game number 1, struggled to close it out. Same lead for Flash Wolves game 2, blown out of the water was Vega Squadron. So putting together a pretty standard comp does have its risk, because all of a sudden, if you don't have that cheese to fall back onto, and you're playing a standard game and they're just better than you, then it becomes very difficult to punch up. When
it's very easy for the enemy to predict what your champion can do and when your champion can do it, it becomes a lot harder to play against these sort of higher level competition. Now, Kaisa is locked in for Betty down towards that bottom side. It was his most played through the LMS, played 14 games on that, and Nautilus here might even be a takeaway. Putting it in the support role, but you also remove it from Vega.
Certainly do, and given the fact that that is going to most likely be a Galio support, unless they're willing to play Morgana mid lane, there aren't really that many options against the Nautilus. So many targets available to be able to either deny good engage or target our backline champions like the Varus. And you're just going to give it another one if you lock in this Syndra.
Syndra is a Nomanz sort of style champion, so I wouldn't be surprised if it gets locked in, but as you say, it's very easy for you to pick it out. Instead, it's going to be the Azir. First time we've seen Nomanz pick that up across the course of the tournament.
So a little bit safer than the Syndra. You know, has the ability to shuffle away. Also, if you get ulted, you can just put up the big wall and be able to dissuade any form of follow-up engage. Big 5v5 team fight coming in for Vega Squadron. You know, 4 of these champions live in team fighting in League of Legends, so a lot more of that. Let's not separate the map, let's group up, let's follow kind of the ladder trajectory of game number 1 that we're able to play, get to an area first and now team fight the Flash Wolves. in saying that if ever you get split up on the map, if you have to play 1-3-1 from behind as an Azir, the game becomes impossible to navigate. So I think Flash Wolves, again, would be looking for those early hits, unlocking Bugi on Summoner's Rift, making sure he can visit each of the lanes in terms, and, you know, really put them in that commanding position that we've seen in game number 2.
If Flash Wolves get ahead in this game, it's going to be incredibly difficult for Vega to do anything. They don't have that many combat mechanics. They kind of have to just wait and scale up into team fights. But Flash Wolves have already shown us their 1-3-1 provides enough pressure on the map.
Yeah, it certainly does, and they have the tools to be able to get ahead early. You know, CC in the bottom lane as well as good damage source, early, aggressive jungler, once again for the Flash Wolves. So, like, it's not like it's unheard of to get Zhao get solo lanes ahead or, you know, gank the Nautilus lane once it hits level 6. At the same time, I think that unless you're really heavily playing around this mid lane and trying to punish the melee-ness of Sylas, it's going to be difficult to be able to shut down an Akali or be able to catch out the bottom lane of the Flash Wolves.
We'll keep our eyes down towards that bottom side. Betty actually taking the cleanse on the Kaisa here. No heal bot lane for the Flash Wolves. A little bit of aggression with the Nautilus. You can follow up on any ganks coming out from Bugi, but it also means that if you do get caught out, you might go down.
If you don't have Tahm Kench, run cleanse against the Galio. That's just the rule of League of Legends. Galio provides so much damage by himself in his kit that if you do not have cleanse, and you're caught by the taunt, you just might die.
I'm just going to say, as a support Galio player, if you could not inform everyone as how to counter my champion in lane, that would be really good. But Betty obviously got the memo. He's running the cleanse down towards that bottom side. And Nomanz running a lethal tempo in the mid lane as he tries to trade onto Radha, who has the aftershock on the Sylas.
Yeah, so a little bit more of the extended duration team fights looking there for Nomanz. A lot more scaling priority as well, not these quick kind of skirmish lanes that we saw out of Jensen, I think, in the last series. On the flip side, it's going to be Conqueror run on the Zhao. So no Halo Blades, no ridiculous level 2.
I'm sorry, I know you really wanted the Halo Blades to come in, but Bugi has shown us that he can pretty much influence a map on any champion. And on something like a Zhao, of course, you have the Audacious Charge, you have the 3-talent strike as well for the knock-up. Early on, you can do a lot of work.
And I want to see him get into this mid lane level 2. It's even worth burning a flash if you're able to pick up Nomanz in response. Rather, is going to have some CC built into his kit, not to mention the fact that if you don't have access to your E, there's just no way you can stay safe in the Azir lane. You can see already Radha looking for those aggressive trades.
Just getting up into Nomanz's face as well. Like, Radha gets the shield from the Abscond Abduct. Nomanz trying to trade back onto him. Of course, with the soldiers, he can poke him out from range like this. But as soon as Radha has that E back up, he's going to step forward and push Nomanz back.
And now letting the wave bounce back towards Radha. So potentially fishing for that. Bugi, however, not going for anything cheesy level 2.
Do you think we keep talking about how, you know, Flash Wolves have this early aggression, how they can make these early plays, and I'm kind of saddened that he doesn't go for the level 2 gank. But do you think we've kind of been influenced by game 2, how quick tempo it was, how fast-paced it was, and actually Flash Wolves could just play a slower early game and still come out on top?
Yeah, they certainly can, because one of the things that Zhao can do is control river and just protect solo lanes, which means that, you know, Akali as well as Sylas are no slouches as the game progresses towards the 1-2 item mark. I think eventually they will be outscaled. However, for now, you can just play that goalie style League of Legends. Very interesting double scuttle take here.
Yeah, however. This is dangerous. I mean, ShiauC and Betty have nowhere to go. If an AHaHaCiK comes down, could just look for the blue buff. Instead, going to go across here. Santa's popping the taunt just to force them away. Goes in with a Justice Punch, Radha coming down as well, but an AHaHaCiK will get the Scuttlecraft.
Not to mention, you can see Bugi also looked for the mid lane cross if that had have extended into any form of fight. So 4 members going to be there, and Nomanz stuck in that mid lane. However, bottom.
Oh, Betty has to flash away, still gets knocked up. And AHaHaCiK going to go for the flash forward. ShiauC's going to catch him out. Betty, of course, no heal there, so only has the cleanse. So if he had a little bit more damage come down onto him, maybe he would have gone down. But flashes coming out from ShiauC and Betty really sets up Gadget and Santos for success.
Crucial error from the Flash Wolves bottom lane. Greedy to walk straight back through the jungle. Knew that an AHaHaCiK was down there as well. There were camps availably taken in the form of the Gromp, so kind of inexcusable. However, Hanabi now getting some jungle attention on the top side of the map, looking to right some of those wrongs.
Yeah, Bugi going for the Crux here. He doesn't know if an AHaHaCiK's invaded his, so has to be a little bit cautious about whether he wants to go down towards that bottom side of the map. Knows he can get the Crux up here. Boss going to face check into Bugi. Bugi steps forward before Boss had spotted him. But that top lane is going to be a little bit dangerous.
However, no teleports, no one up here. As soon as they spot an AHaHaCiK, they can look for the dive if they want to. is unanswerable.
Looking for the dive. Santos has the flash here, only lands it on towards ShiauC on that Nautilus, but still only level 2, chunked out a little bit. A big minion wave here as well.
Yeah, great chunk damage coming across him because there is no teleport for the AD carry. All this damage that's landing is sticking. And ShiauC, whilst having potions, is starting to get whittled down. So push priority secured in the bottom lane, eases up a lot of pressure that Nomanz was feeling in that mid lane. Able to get himself a recall. Is down 12 CS, however. So once again, split map top to bottom for Vega Squadron.
And I think if I'm Flash Wolves at the moment, I'm very happy with this. You know, you have a big CS lead in that mid lane, a big CS lead top as well. Hanabi's already shown us how powerful he can be on Akali, and you have Rather on the Sylas. Like, these are champions they're well versed in, and if they can be ahead, it doesn't really matter how far Betty is behind coming into the mid game.
And just opens up the style that we keep talking about the Flash Wolves want to play, right? Looking for the early dragon through rotating your solo laners with teleport, then revisiting topside for the Rift Herald. Something that's just so telegraphed and was read well from Vega Squadron game number 1. See whether Santos can get in better position this time around on the Galio. Was able to influence at game 1, game 2 not going to be the case. So, oh, Boss might be in some trouble here.
Hanabi halfway on his way to level 6. Not going to be able to do too much more yet. Now, Bugi has been spotted out on the ward in the bottom lane, and AHaHaCiK looking for the fight in the mid as Rather still has flash to get away here. Burrow comes out, but AHaHaCiK not going to be able to close the gap. And meanwhile, in the bottom lane, Bugi is just forced away.
Yeah, no flash available from AHaHaCiK, as well as no Emperor's Divide, so no way to get him back on towards the Rek'Sai. Also the fact that whilst they have good vision bottom side, they don't really know where Zhao is right now. So I like the poke your head in there, try and relieve some pressure. He is 21 in CS in a hole right now, but can't look for the kill.
CS deficit's leading to a 700 gold lead for Flash Wolves. Hanabi here with the Twilight Shroud. Pretty easy for him to escape, and AHaHaCiK's just going to help force out this lane. Gives Boss the time to get back as well. He hits level 6, and it is becoming just a little bit desperate for Vega already. Gadget having to flash away here in the bottom lane as the Ignite comes out. It's ticking. Gadget's down. He still had the heal there. Santos is going to follow shortly after. Flash Wolves had lost their flashes earlier on, but they still win the 2v2.
Yeah, Summoner Spell Deficit means nothing for the Flash Wolves bottom lane, and Rather playing so far up now.
And that's like still no flash for him. Rather has a flash of his own and stolen away the Emperor's Divide as well. So even if they try and get on him, he's just going to slide them away.
And that's an Azir, one of the least threatening birds in all of Earth's existence right now.
I've seen emus.
They are very threatening.
Australians would know a lot about that.
We don't talk about that. However, let's take another look at what happened bottom lane. Go to Happy and News if you're a Flash Wolves fan. Great hook coming across from ShiauC. And you already mentioned it. This is a Summoner Spell disadvantage, but with Press the Attack, with Ignite, and all of the damage that comes out of buffed Nautilus, Mark Z thought we could possibly might see it due to the recent buffs and nerfs that influenced the meta of League of Legends, and he's exactly right.
I'm actually very, very proud that Mark Z did that segment earlier on. He was talking about it, and not often you see people actually predict the picks that we need to watch in tournaments like this, and so Mark Z absolutely on point with that.
Completely agree, you know, just a missing piece of content that I'm glad the void has finally been filled.
Totally agree with you there, Spawn. Just a shame that no one I know decided to do it first. Now, Flash was setting up a fight down towards the bottom side. Bugi has been on the map, although not getting any kills or assists as of yet. He's kind of acted as that bouncer, that bodyguard for his lanes, and now he's set up in a perfect position because Gadget doesn't have flash, nor does Santos. ShiauC gonna go in. Gadget caught out, uses the heal. The knockup not quite gonna come out in time. Plasma stacks up on towards that Varus. It's not gonna be enough, but Santos now forced underneath the tower. He will fall. Bugi gets his first kill of the game, and Flash Wolves are off to the races.
And Press the Attack Kaisa just adds so much damage to this lane once it's being popped. You can see that with the 2 longswords challenging Smite as well. Bugi active on Summoner's Rift. Now, the response could be here.
We keep seeing this from AHaHaCiK as well, and it's so hard to gank this. How on earth do you get onto Hanabi when he's got the Twilight Shroud, he's got Flash, he's got the Shuriken, he just walks out?
And if there was a teleport available...
Oh, Gadget's done.
All right, let's forget that one. If there was a teleport available for the top lane, it becomes even more difficult to go for that gank because the counter gank always there. Rather is smashing Nomanz right now.
Both the solo lanes for the Flash Wolves winning, and that means Bugi's been able to put some time down towards that bottom side. Betty is 2-0-2 on the Kaisa. It's his most played. He's incredibly comfortable on this champion. And we always talk about, you know, Betty is kind of like the silent member of this team. He's the guy that we don't talk about too much because it used to be Maple and Sword Art. Before that, it was Stark. Before that, it was MMD. Betty always comes up to these international tournaments and really shows up.
Yeah, not to mention people like Kaisa running around as well on this lineup. They've just had a storied roster that's always found success internationally, but this is the most terrifying game to play as Vega Squadron. Your win condition was team fights. It was to not let the solo lanes get ahead. So they lock in Xin Zhao. You assume he's going towards the solo lanes, looking to boost those lanes up into a form of 1-3-1. Well, he's not even had to do that. Yep. It's just been success for Hanabi, success for Rather, with no influence into that lane. Then you look at bottom lane, you know, your Bastion of Hope, so much CC, you know, the fact they had to take cleanse, and they are just in a hole, down in CS, 0-4 collectively.
Emperor's Divide onto Rather underneath the tower. Rather walks away with half his HP, and Nomanz has no mana, so can't follow up.
All the damage he took then was from the turret.
Yep.
Right now, Nomanz does no damage to the Aftershock Sylas. And the fact that, you know, resources expended once again, not to gain an advantage, but just to survive in the laning phase, is the horror story that Vega is facing right now. Even taking away jungle camps, and AHaHaCiK gets hooked.
They're caught out with a hook. Santos has the shield of Duran, that taunt coming out, not going to do too much about it. And even if you can read Flash Wolves, even if you know what they're going to do, it's an Ocean Drake, they'll take it. It's a Rift Herald, they'll go for it. It doesn't really matter because Vega Squadron could send all 5 players down here and they probably wouldn't win the fight.
And in fact, it's more frustrating if you know what they're going to do, because they're in such a commanding position right now that even if you read them beforehand, they've got better vision than you, they've been able to get to the areas first. And this is where creativity becomes such a large factor, Medi. Do you go for a lane swap? Do you try and get some plates, you know, 10 minutes into the game, try and get Gadget and Santas onto the top side of the map, you know, use the Galio global? Can you try and punish mid lane with 4 people showing up, potentially a teleport? Because right now, just playing standard League of Legends is putting you in a disastrous situation. If you are Vega Squadron.
Totally agree with you there, Spawn. Vega going to try and get the Rift Herald, wants something out of this. You can see pings actually coming out from Flash Wolves. I wonder if Hanabi will face check this by himself. I doubt it. I think you give up this Rift Herald for now. You accept that you don't need it. You've already got 5 plates on the rest of the map. Vega Squadron yet to get a plate of their own. Gadget's caught out, has the flash up in just a second, but the hero's entrance is not in time. And Santa's unable to save his AD carry in the bottom lane.
No hesitation, coordination out of the Flash Wolves bottom lane. We said they're great at playing weak side. Well, this is what a strong side Kaisa now looks like. Turret is under fire, no teleport here. Gadget just missing so much CS. In mid lane, they also look for a play. Looks like Nomanz just scoots himself out.
And that Kaisa is 1,500 gold ahead right now. Actually, up to 1,600 gold. He's got the BF sword already to only a build with a cutlass. Hanabi here, sitting in the Twilight Shroud. Boss trying to knock him away. The teleport comes out. Hanabi can jump back in with that shuriken.
Certainly can.
AHaHaCiK there, Rather with the slide back, only pushes back the Rek'Sai. Has to flash away. Hanabi maybe looking for the chase here. Has already used that perfect execution and won't want to dive the tower.
And poor execution was a great idea here for the Flash Wolves. We said one more of these overextending ganks could lead to a potential counter gank with teleport. However, you see right now Santa's looking to try and help out his mid lane. Maybe the rotation is going for us. So he cheats back into Fog of War, I believe, potentially looking for some form of rotation. That just means hook out of the brushlands. Oh, it was just a spot out, Betty, so they knew where he was. All right, that's poor play from Gadget. When you have no summoner spells and you don't have eyes on the support, you cannot look for poke like that.
Trying to greed for that CS, but now he is 22 farm behind mid lane. There is a 30 farm lead for Rather over Nomanz on the Azir, and as much as Vega have the scaling, they are 5,000 gold in the hole.
And Medic, at this stage of the game, I love to check in with win conditions. You know, 12 minutes in, how do they execute? Well, Flash Wolves can do whatever the hell they want. Like, they have the world is their oyster. You know, they're a young kid with money that went to the best college. They're going out into the world. They're going to make of it what they will. However, on the other side of it, Flash Wolves right now, they're really struggling. Their comp doesn't even do what it's supposed to do, team fight well, because they just have no items, they have no gold. They pop the Rift Herald mid, potentially looking for the first turret of the game.
Trying to force the tempo a little bit here. Nomanz and Gadget will chunk away at this tower when the Rift Herald charges in, but Betty's just like, okay, cool, well, I've already taken basically all of this turret down towards the bottom side. They'll get the 5 plates. With it, they will have about 6,500 gold. First tower goes down in a second, and all of that gold is fed onto Betty as well. Nomanz forced out in the mid lane here as he's stunned up, but the fight erupts in the jungle as well. That is just the support killing the AD carry. I mean, Betty was there to help at the end, but it's just, if he'd taken it, it would have been a KS, because that was all ShiauC.
3-0-3 right now on the Nautilus, showing the power of the pick in the support position as well when there is follow-up. Very nice job from Bugi here, shadowing rather not moving. They want to put pressure into this mid lane turret as well, while they push the bottom tier 2.
Deary me, those towers going down like like paper, like nothing, really. Rather looking for that tower in the mid lane. Want to get that plate down before the turret plating falls off. Tier 2 in the bottom lane. 14 minutes in. Vega Squadron just have no way of answering this.
You lose bottom lane hard when they can take your turret uncontested while you have to look for something else on the map. You lose bottom lane really hard when no one else is there and they 2v2 take your tier 2 turret at 14 minutes into the game.
And AHaHaCiK trying to stop Rather here. We'll use the Void Rush. Rather trying to trade it back, but AHaHaCiK will get the kill. Rather greeted for the tower. He gets it, but he does lose his life because of it.
Yeah, they certainly do. Let's take another look at what ShiauC found here. Oh, goes fishing, gets the knock up. It's with Dynamite, of course. Best way to fish. Yep. Very nice job there for Betty to swoop in and try and kill steal. I appreciate it.
I give a little bit of credit to ShiauC there because popping the depth charge on the Galio actually means that he can't get into the fight either as you CC lock up the Varus.
Yeah, I certainly like the point there, and I think that the fact that CC is guaranteed on 2 members as well, just maximizing the full kit. And you can just see how confident Betty is right now. No support anywhere in sight. 3 members down in that bottom lane. They have summoner spells. Are they going to go for it? Probably not, because you are just an item ahead of your counterpart at this stage of the game.
Yeah, should have that Acathian Rain upgrade pretty soon as well with the Storm Razor and the pickaxe. So getting all the AD that he needs. A 2,500 gold lead for the AD carries. And across the rest of the map, Flash Wolves will just be looking to take out that top lane tower next, open up the map a little bit more, and then, as you say, take what you want.
And that's the stage of the game we're at. I like the fact that AHaHaCiK did punish the overconfidence, the fact that Rather's just sitting there whacking a turret with no health. You do have to be able to take those plays, but really it's just for your confidence for the rest of the series. This looks like it's going to be a 2-1 for Flash Wolves heading towards match point, so I think it's really important for Vega Squadron to try and execute on what their comp does a couple of times, you know, try and go through the motions of making this game something, because you don't want to go into game number 4, you know, potentially a deciding game of getting into MSI group stage, getting demolished in the fashion that they have been in the last, you know, game and a half.
Oh, definitely. And you have to remember as well, Vega do have another best of 5 tomorrow. If they lose this, they can still beat Fongfu Buffalo and make it into the group stages.
However, the scary thing about that best of 5 is Flash Wolves are grouping and fighting and putting you to the skirmish challenge that Fongfu Buffalo is probably going to try and emulate tomorrow. And so far, in the long, slow, drawn-out, patient game, it looked like Vega had some answers towards it. But now that it's sped up, Vega look like the tempo of the game is just not in their favor.
Yeah, I think we saw that from Group B as well. The Group B was the slower of the 2 groups. We saw less kills in the early game. We saw much more scale in Group A, where Fongfu Buffalo came from, was all about speed, all about pace, all about tempo.
In saying that, Medic, I agree with the point, but there should have been a team that could introduce some chaos into Group B and Mega. You know, the Southeast Asian region has always been known for that. G4, certainly one of the best at pulling the assassins out in the mid lane, and they just didn't go towards it. So do have to give Vega some credit for being able to deal with that play style in the games that they played against Mega. Obviously lost one of their games, but that was the throwaway, trash
they'd
time, whatever you want to call it. Already qualified, didn't want to show anything more.
Yeah, I don't doubt that Vega could win a game like that. Just haven't seen it from them yet today. They did go, of course, 5-1 in their group, dominated Group B. And in game 1, I held a lot of hope for them. They showed us exactly how they can play against a team like Flash Wolves, but Flash Wolves just have put the foot down on the accelerator. They've been shifting gears every single game, and Vega haven't been able to match.
And asking multiple questions. Okay, game number 1, you better beat us through creative drafts. Let's get rid of that. Then we'll beat you with our solo lanes. Okay, you don't want to deal with our solo lane, so you're picking on our bottom lane. Now let's show you what Betty can do on a carry. Just constantly changing the rules of this lineup, ensuring that they have an area to attack through.
Vega looking to defend this top tower as AHaHaCiK actually catches out on towards Bugi. Pops the Crescent Guard. Void Rush comes out as well, but Betty with the chase goes in, supercharging towards Santos. The hook's going to land on the Gadget. He's knocked up. He's not long for Summoner's Rift. Rather with the chase in. And Hanabi comes in with the TP into perfect execution. They'll take him out. 2 kills for nil. The tower falls as well. Flash Wolves so in control of the game, it's not even fun.
And fighting over the scraps. We saw multiple solo members try and pick up that kill, even expending ultimates. And you see AHaHaCiK here gets the face check, able to use the ultimate to dodge out of Zhao. So mechanically plays it well, but just not enough items at this stage of the game for the Rek'Sai. And you can see Gadget just eating all of the CC, multiple members coming across, ultimate use from Hanabi to secure the kill. Well deserved there from the top laner of Flash Wolves.
It's got to be the worst feeling as an AD carry. Hook lands on your face, and then you know you're done for. CC chain into the lockdown from an Akali, from a Sylas. Basically nothing Gadget could do. in that situation. And with it being a minute away from the Baron, with a minute and a half before Infernal spawns, you have to think Flash Wolves will just use those neutral objectives to continue to put the pressure onto Vega.
And this is the thing about the Flash Wolves lineup, is that I think they are good team fighters, and Frostgurn highlighted that even with a worse composition from neutral or very far behind in game number 1, they showed that they do have good setup. They do have good understanding of how to play the map as well. You know, they're running so many teleports in these games that they're able to, you know, go for those plays where they teleport into the top lane, put out more pressure than normally you would see from one of these lineups, and they haven't really shown anything. They've shown us the same solo lane as in back-to-back games, I think all 3 games of Sylas. So just beating Vega in the simplest or, you know, primary form that they've brought to MSI so far.
And it always helps not to have to show stuff as well, because Flash Wolves, of course, if they win this, they'll be facing off against teams like SKT, like IG, like G2, like Team Liquid. It's not an easy road to the semi-finals, and Flash Wolves have that consistent record to maintain. You know, they've made every single semi-finals in every single MSI they've gone to.
And this is where the roster changes become interesting, because we're talking about a much younger lineup with things to prove. We even got a player on loan from Griffin on this lineup. Certainly would want to battle his way back into the LCK if the opportunity presented itself. So looking at the Flash Wolves lineup, they're young, they're hungry, and so far they're showing a level of coordination that I think many people might not have expected from the LMS after, you know, kind of the exodus that took place into the LPL this year.
Definitely the case. But the question is, for Vega, do you just call this one? Do you just slow it down, be like, okay, we'll try and just not take any fights, play as defensively as possible and scale up? Yep. Or do you have to look for something around a Baron, around an Infernal Dragon?
I think this is one of those games where you just decide on an item timing or an area of the map. If they start Baron, we're contesting it. Everything else we're willing to give up, but we're not giving up Baron. Or, you know, at 2 items, this is when our comp comes online, even though they're going to be further accelerated than what we are on Ginsu's, on, you know, something like a Morello and Omicron. We look for our fight. We throw that one big Hail Mary and see whether we can get ahead. However, you can see that they're still confident. They're still looking to contest these objectives, just might not be in the best area.
So Hanabi didn't have teleport. He pushed in top, and now he's coming down towards the bottom side. Boss has already TP'd in. Infernal Dragon down to 3,000 HP. Rather steals away the unstoppable on top. Betty's on the back line, and Gadget's caught out. Gadget trying to do what he can, but Betty's just on a rampage. Surima's shuffle comes out, and Flash Wolves continue the fight. And AHaHaCiK has to flash away. This is just devastation. This isn't even funny, as we see Nomanz trying to slide onto the back line, but it's all Flash Wolves. There's nothing you can do against such relentless hate.
Yeah, and the casual 4v5 coming in from the region, LMS. You can see that right now supports looking for a little bit of a brawl. Unfortunately, Santos does not play these games. ShiauC looking for the final hook.
Oh, just wide, but here comes Hanabi. He's got a taste for blood. Hextech Gunblade. 5 points straight to clear out the way. Now, Baron has been started by Flash Wolves here as well. They took the Infernal. Baron should be a pretty easy take for them now.
And this game becoming a little bit pedestrian right now. You can see Baron cannot be contested, even though death timers are so short. No way to make yourself through that forest. It's going to be picked up. Their 1-3-1's devastating. Their team fight's better just because of how accelerated they are. Flash Wolves really sending, you know, that mental message to Vega for that 4th and final game potentially.
I think it's the moment as well as Vega, like after a fight like this, you say, okay, this game's done. Let's delay as much as we can. Maybe we find a good fight at some point, but otherwise let's think about next game, let's reset, and let's just get ourselves in a good spot, because we are going to fight for our main stage live.
But how do you reset when teams are looking for the 4v5, aren't taking that backward step, are not even affording you the luxury of, okay, we got here first, their top laner, who is fed, isn't going to be able to make it in time. Instead, they just still look for the fight, they still look for the engage. I think mentally that is actually quite taxing to play against if you're the Vega lineup.
I agree, but I think if you take a step back and you say Betty's 606 on this Kaisa has 2 items over our AD carry, like this, that wasn't the game-defining moment. The game-defining moment happened a long time ago when Betty started getting fed. Now you have to see if Vega Squadron in their first international tournament can have that sort of mental fortitude and take it into Game 4.
Yeah. Certainly agree.
Thank you, Sport.
It's a tough task.
Oh, it's definitely a tough task.
I agree with you in principle.
Yes.
Which is the best kind of agreement.
As long as it's technically in principle.
Yeah, exactly right. I think now we just judge how Flash Wolves close out this game, right? They've got the Baron buff, they're playing multiple lanes. Once again, they go back to their 2-lane setup as opposed to all 3 because teleport's not yet available. So ticking off all the boxes we wanted to see from this Flash Wolves lineup.
23 minutes in, they have a 13,000 gold lead. They've got all the dragons in the game so far as well, an Ocean, a Cloud, and an Infernal, and they will just use this Baron to push in. It's about a minute and a half left on it. They can take this mid lane tower, wait for the wave towards top as they ping it out. And Flash Wolves looking absolutely dominant as this game comes to what we expect to be its close.
You can see now, finally, potentially looking at playing at 3 separate lanes. They had pinged out top wave. Already Betty is across. Given the fact that they're playing over a smaller area of the map all of a sudden, you know, the Kaisa ultimate nearly looks like a global.
Yep.
The ability to join the fight from a side lane is certainly there. Not to mention, no one can duel Betty right now because he's very fed.
I like the fact that they're making sure these waves crash at a pretty equal time as well. ShiauC jumps into the middle of it all as Betty jumps forward as well. Gadget using the Blade of the Moon King to heal himself up. Santo goes golden. It's still alive for the moment. Rather, actually taking a lot of tower shots here. Nomanz just needs a couple of auto attacks. Rather just about survives as he gets away. But now Flash Wolves will push in 3 men strong. Rather doesn't have the teleport, so maybe Flash Wolves actually back away.
Yeah, very nice repel there. Good use of the Blade of the Ruined King to be able to outrun the very melee Sylas after the Abduct and Abscond combo comes across. And you have to give credit. That's a good base defense. As you mentioned, no teleport up. Whilst he had Galio ult, certainly not the global, so full reset comes out from the Flash Wolves.
And the Baron will fall off as well. No inhibitor line broken here. Vega Squadron doing a good job of holding onto the game for the moment, but as the next Infernal spawns and as Baron comes up in a few minutes' time, that's where you expect Flash Wolves to go next.
And as we just take stock of kind of how this series has progressed, you wonder what... Oh, hook is on again. Hold that.
Yeah, and AHaHaCiK, he's actually going to survive for the moment. The Hero's Entrance comes out from Rather. He stole that one away. Just in case you haven't got enough of a lead, like you've got all these extra items, like, oh, I'll just take your ultimates as well.
Yeah. Rather actually hasn't had to do anything this game. It feels like every play has been around jungle and bottom lane, and then solo lane is like, guys, we're part of the team too. For morale's sake, if nothing else, let us get involved in this.
I mean, Hanabi teleported in for that kill. Okay, he's had a massive impact on
kill.
He did.
He used a 6-minute cooldown to be able to gain access to that kill.
Yes, he did. But Infernal Drake up in 30 seconds. Flash Wolves in a very strong spot as it goes.
Very strong. That's the adjective we're going to use.
Well, no, I was trying to move on to another point.
Oh, okay. Yeah, all right.
This feels much more reminiscent to the Flash Wolves Gambit series from last year. I think
yes.
Game 1 showed that Vega Squadron and the CIS as an emerging region have developed, have brought some new stuff to the table.
Sure, yep.
But Game 2 and Game 3 feel very much more like that emerging region LMS divide that we saw last year.
Yeah, and that's where I was leading to is what then is the recipe to replicate game number 1? What else have you got in your playbook, if you are the Vega Squadron lineup, that has led them to so much domestic dominance? Because we've seen, you know, potentially the Kaisa spot. Do we go back towards something like a Heimerdinger? Is there, you know, a Morgana AD carry or traditional marksman role with a pike or something roaming around Summoner's Rift? What else do you have there? Can you play something like Taliyah Pantheon? You know, Sona Taric hasn't been an option so far. So there are different things that the meta currently allows you to do, which is a fun thing about this MSI meta. We have really an open playbook. If anyone has shown us that, kind of G2 would be the leading example of you just do whatever the heck you want, you win your region, right? So I want to see what Vega reach for in what could be the deciding game of today's best of 5.
I believe Vega gets side selection next game as well, so maybe you switch over to the blue side. Maybe you look for something like the Sona Taric, if you can. Like, we've seen Flash Wolves ban it out on blue every game. Of course, you could pick Taric first, force them into a Sona pick.
So the only thing that makes me question whether they'll actually do that is if you feel like your solo lanes are getting bullied, which they are, you can't really make the blue side swap, because unless you're very confident in your Akali, Aurelia, or Jace, or Sylas, something like that, then you're just going to get counterpicked and you're going to get destroyed. This is what's happening with blind solo lanes right now for the Flash Wolves lineup. You give counterpick across. If there's something that, you know, Hanabi wants to play into one of your blind picks, then it just becomes an even more devastating game, I feel, for the Flash Wolves.
I understand that logic, but when your back's against the wall, you take anything you can. Yeah. Anything you can to try and turn it around. And AHaHaCiK is actually going to steal away that Razor Beak, the big chicken. And it's actually at equal level for AHaHaCiK and Bugi here, which doesn't matter, because if we see a Baron setup or something, those smites are at the same point. Level 16 hit for Rather, level 16 hit for Hanabi as well. No 16s so far, and a 3-level disparity between Betty and Gadget. Large difference between those AD carries.
And just the access to farm hasn't been equal for the two teams. You can see the jungle has continually been farmed, taken away from the Flash Wolves lineup. Pretty much their jungle has been ignored for majority of this game, which is probably why the junglers find themselves in fairly even situations. And AHaHaCiK would have been leeching a lot of Gadget's experience.
Do they realize this ward doesn't spot it? I believe that ward's actually outside of the bush. And AHaHaCiK will clear it out, so now they know that he's up there. But you can see they hadn't reacted before that. And AHaHaCiK gonna go in with the bow, look for the flash as well, but he's caught up, he flashes in, he throws it away! And AHaHaCiK has breathed life into Vega Squadron, but Flash Wolves are trying to snuff that life out. Santa's caught out with a perfect execution, hooked back with the dredge line as well, and that Galio will fall, but that's 3 Baron buffs on Vega Squadron surviving.
And a Baron for 2 kills when you're 12,000 gold behind is a trade that you will take. Now, whether it opens up any farm for the Vega Squadron lineup is a completely different question.
Can you defend? Your minion wave has just spawned. Rather's going to jump in with the Abscon. Nomanz caught out. Boss knocking back Bugi. Gadget trying to get the damage in. There's a Crescent Guard as well. But the inhibitor tower falls, and now Flash Wolves pushing forward as a 5-man squad. Bugi down to about 400 HP. Levels up, gains some back. Rather still taking down the inhib. Hanabi's pushing in this top wave. Betty trying to trade onto Nomanz. Betty can just step forward. The killer instinct. Nomanz has to flash away. And Flash Wolves are able to break the base, but they still are playing against that Baron buff. Boss doesn't want to force any further. Vega Squadron hold on to their lives.
So Baron gone, but base still broken. So mission accomplished, even though it was a bit of a failure at the start. As you mentioned, and AHaHaCiK doing a great job coming from a different angle. The CC was there, but not layered. They didn't go over, they didn't hold the Baron buff, which meant that it was smited away. Continual chase, however, is still obviously going to be in Flash Wolves' favor. They're so far ahead. So whether this is breathing the life back into the Vega Squadron lineup just for an extra 5 minutes of a quick chat about what you want to do in Game 4 is still yet to be seen.
You take anything you can get if you're Vega Squadron
that.
right now. I do. 13,000 gold difference between them. Flash Wolves have opened up that middle of the park, taking down that inhibitor. AD carry Gadget is scaling up here. You know, he's at 2.5 items now to 4 items on the side of Bessie.
Yeah, and you can see 3 items also achieved right now for the mid laner. Picks up a Void Staff. So whilst the game is still incredibly difficult, damage is going to be relevant coming out of the hyper carries on the lineup of Vega. Whether they can get that perfect team fight, whether they can weather the storm of what is a 2 assassin side laners is yet to be seen, but they are at least at that point in the game that we spoke about where maybe we can look for a fight, and if we flawlessly execute against a mistake or against a pick, can look to get something. Another thing that isn't often talked about, the fact that when you take an inhibitor, if you're not farming that lane, does cost you, a couple of thousand gold as it's pushed in. Not saying this game is going to go for the inhibitor respawn. One of the reasons you don't necessarily want to always take in early inhibitors means that, Nomanz Gadget going to be able to farm this while there is no farm available right now for the Flash Wolves in that lane.
Oh, Flash Wolves trying to force on the other side of the map as they saw Nomanz in mid. That inhibitor tower down to half HP, rather jumping forward. Boss catches them out. Nomanz goes golden with the catch onto AHaHaCiK on that backline. Inhibitor tower falls, the shuffle back. Hanabi on the backline has already taken out Gadget. Nomanz the second to fall. The hero's entrance comes out, but you're not really doing too much on this backline because Betty is still alive. He's shredding through all of Vega Squadron. In the end, Bugi falls, and AHaHaCiK has to run the wrong way. ShiauC will go down as well, but rather on the chase, abscond, abducts, and takes the life of AHaHaCiK. Takes it away with the Void Rush and goes golden in the final moment. It's an ace for Flash Wolves, and although the Barons still look pretty, Vega Squadron were not able to delay the game for long enough. Flash Wolves are 1 game away from their 4th consecutive MSI main stage.
And it did just seem like a matter of time in this game. Flash Wolves sucking the life out of it with such a dominant bottom lane performance. The solo lanes already had done their job in generating a gold lead, and then getting Betty and ShiauC into such a commanding position meant no winning avenues for this Vega lineup. And Gadget just seems to have fallen off when not on the picks that have been able to kind of open up the rest of the map.
Definitely agree with you there. I think you have to give a lot of credit to Bugi as well. His early jungle pathing has been absolutely on point. A couple of mistakes in the early game there really cost Vega Squadron, especially that 2v2 down towards spot.
Yeah, it certainly did, because when you burn 2 summoner spells, we talk about Bugi's pathing, but AHaHaCiK burnt both flashes in the bottom lane. That should give you some form of advantage, even if it's just control of bottom side jungle, but it wasn't to be because they still returned fire with that double kill and then opened up the entirety of the map. Just felt like whenever they wanted to attack the bottom side, Betty and ShiauC always had the avenue to be able to do so.
It definitely did. Well, Flash Wolves are 1 win away from earning a spot in groups. We're going to get some thoughts from the State Farm analyst desk. I'll get it.
Thank you very much, Medic. Momentum starting to pick up in favor of Flash Wolves. Now 2-1 in the series in favor of them. But this was just utter destruction of Vega in this 3rd game.
Yeah, Medic was like, we'll hear their thoughts. And mine is like, ow. That hurt to watch.
Those
are my thoughts.
There's only so far we can go when the kills come so quickly in favor of Flash Wolves and that gold lead just ballooned out of control.
It feels like the primary takeaway from this game is that if Vega plays standard across from Flash Wolves, they will lose and they will get obliterated, and not just in the 5v5, but in the 2v2s, the 1v1s. So it goes back to the drawing board. What else is in their Mary Poppins bag that they can pull out to try to mix up these drafts? Because playing standard, running it back at Flash Wolves is just not an option.
Yeah, it hasn't worked up to this point. We'll have to see what they decide to do for Game 4, needing to win 2 back-to-back. But you talk about, how they match up in the 1v1s, 2v2s, 3v3s, all the way up to the 5v5s. The bot lane was the story of this game this time around, and we saw very early on a couple kills going in the way of Flash Wolves straight up in the 2v2.
Yeah, I mean, it was just a complete slaughter. And we were hyping Betty up a fair amount before. This time it was more on ShiauC, I'd say, and setting up a lot of these plays. The enemy just walking way too far forward, not thinking he's actually going to burn down, so he doesn't actually pop his heal, and then Santa's not getting the speed up, can't run away. Like, that was such a disastrous 2v2 simply because you didn't want to burn your heal. It was almost comical how bad that was.
And what's crazy is that while it was super obvious in this game, frankly, Betty and ShiauC have just been having a town down there. Like, every single game, it's been amazing for them. When the junglers started getting involved, it can sway back and forth, but Betty and ShiauC look like the stronger 2v2, and they're not even the strongest 2v2 in the LMS. Betty's like the 3rd best ADC that region has.
And here's that, Nautilus mid that we were talking about,
Yep.
1v2 in the enemy bot lane. Oh, wait, that's a support.
Oh, yeah, wait. You didn't tell me that Nautilus mid could be played in the support position.
Wait, you need to name the show if you're going to do that.
Yeah. I don't remember. I need the prompt to scroll again. It's along the title. But yeah, we were talking about in the first series how, Feng Vu is holding tight with Team Liquid, and, it's the fact that they're not quite as skilled as a whole team. This is, the opposite when you're like, okay, they're getting blown up in 2v2 fights and not pressing their buttons to stay alive.
It creates a really interesting dynamic, though. I think it's really fun to go back to like game 1 and see like, okay, clearly one team is stronger than the other one, but when you can have that outplay potential because you can outthink a team through composition, like I love that type of League of Legends.
Right.
I'm only sad that we've only seen it once so far in this series.
And we still have an opportunity to see it again. Before we move on to that Game 4, because I don't want to belabor a game that kind of felt decided so early on, we do have to recognize our MasterCard player of the game in ShiauC on that Nautilus in the bot lane.
Yeah, I mean, he was the kind of shot caller for this team, one of the main vocal points, and obviously your shot calling is going to be a lot easier when you can 1v2 the enemy bot lane. He absolutely crushed this game with that Nautilus pick.
Okay, but now, Frost, let's return to that point around the outplay potential or the outthink potential for Vega. They got to do it 2 times in a row here in order to take the series. Still waiting on side selection. They've been red for all 3 games so far. First question is, would you like to see them swap or stick with that, counter pick on the red side?
I like the counter pick because I think their champion pools have a lot of flexibility for them. I don't think priority pick means as much because it doesn't feel like there's one definitive champion unless maybe they get the Karthus, but either blue or red side, Flash Wolves are just going to ban it. I feel like the number one thing that I want from them is I just want semi-global ultimates. I want you to get like your Shin in there. I want everyone to be running teleport, and I just want you to decide that you're not going to win this game playing standard League of Legends. Break it. Make it animal style. Make it chaos style. Whatever you want to call it, just go crazy.
Go blue side, maybe play Sonateric, do something weird. Like, I would like to see that personally, and like you said, make it weird. And they tried to do it in game 2 and it fell apart. So then in game 3, they're like, oh, let's go normal. Clearly that's the wrong idea. And so it's finally to, reach as far into that bag of tricks that you can and pull out the weirdest, stinkiest cheese you can find.
I'm loving all these analogies. I just received word Vega will stick to red side. So they aren't going to hop over to blue side for that opportunity. But as you mentioned, Frost, there's still plenty that they can do from the red side with that counter pick.
You know what I really like that you brought up is that by taking blue side, it would kind of give away that they were trying to get the Sonateric. And from red side, I just think you don't get that at all, like ever, because they'll just grab whatever one you don't ban just as a precaution. Probably be the Taric because it pairs up better, but...
Yeah, I mean, Flash Wolves had banned it a couple times anyways, so maybe you just don't get it. But red side, like you said, the counter pick is still obviously very valuable. We saw game 1, that last pick Vayne being the flex that they needed to win. Second game, the flex pick Zillion at the very end.
I think
didn't quite work out, but a similar idea.
I think Shin support is what they'll go to. Flash Wolves banned it, I think, in either game 1 or game number 2. It might have been game 2.
It was second phase ban.
And it is a support that Santos plays a lot. Kind of like the story for both these supports is that they lead the charge for the team. Santos actually has international experience for this squad. ShiauC is the shot caller here, and I think that's kind of the Band-Aid, if you will.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. If I were position of Vega, I wouldn't be so quick to disavow our Game 2 draft, aside, in terms of the first 3 picks, right? And then just shore up picks 4 and 5 a little differently. You're not going to get the Karthus again. We're pretty secure in that. But you could still get, let's say, the Nico in the bot lane, and let's just find a couple better tools to put around her to maybe find that success.
I think that works, as well as maybe switching up the top side. You've played HEcarim 2 games in a row. I know it's one of Boss's best champions, but it hasn't gone anywhere right now. And obviously Hanabi is playing fine. He is playing more aggressive champions, but he's not getting any help. All the focuses are on the bot lane. If you take a very aggressive counter pick or dominating topside matchup like a Jace or something, maybe that can bring the jungler up there. I'm spitballing.
Well, there you have it. The LMS champions are 1 win away from returning to the MSI group stage. We'll be back for the match, or match point rather, after the break.